This is really about policy and about what's possible in Oak Park. And as Lisa said, this event itself is a demonstration of what is possible, because everybody on here has played some role, whether you were part of building this plan or coming up with the ideas or literally putting the documents together, or as you're going to learn about the tool that we're going to talk about today too, that I'm really excited about. This has all been time and investment from the community, from people who both care and have the capacity and the knowledge to put all these things together. So what we want in elected leaders is people who can trust that process, who can help identify where those strengths are and then put them together and let them do their thing. And that does take, it takes work, it takes effort, and it also takes a willingness to be both collaborative and to give people space to do things and see how they work out. We have structures that have existed to support participation through our commission structure. We have 20 volunteer commissions in Oak Park, which is remarkable. It has the efficacy of that structure has eroded, particularly in the past few years. And despite the efforts of a lot of really great, smart, wonderful people, and I believe that is due to a lack of prioritizing it from a leadership standpoint. And so as village president, I will have an opportunity to prioritize that work and encouraging the participation that we need village-wide. All of this starts with our local elections. All of this starts with this process. This illustration that you're going to see is basically, it's a graphic depiction just to help us imagine what a participatory process has looked like in many, many, many other examples, but what it could look like in the structure that exists right now. And that means that I talked to past elected people, I've talked to municipal attorney folks, I've talked to participatory budgeting experts from all over the country, just to help us look at it and say, yes, this looks legitimate and best practice and all those kind of good things. We want people to feel confident that this is something that lots of people practice and that it has been vetted and investigated.
You want to make sure you're being inclusive, transparent, you want to build community, and you want it to be community-led as well. So when I was looking at this document, the 5 main layers that I was looking for is making sure that we have the section for idea collection, where obviously we're gathering information from residents in the community of what they want to see or how they want to improve their community with whatever amount of money they get to spend with, right? From there, you have a PB committee, and it's like a leadership committee, and it could be named however you would like to name your committee. But you have an overall PB committee, then you have your actual steering committee leaders, who are the ones that are in charge of the actual process design and being a part of those conversations with Cate or whoever is in charge of the PB process. And then you have subcommittee members who are then sectioned off to whichever area they'd like to be. After they gather their ideas, you have to vet them and put them into themes. So once they're actually vetted into themes, whether it's arts and culture, streets that we're resurfacing, parks and recreation, safety and environment, public safety, whatever buckets people are wanting to start working into as subcommittee members, then they begin to vet those projects out into potential project proposal ideas. And that's the part where you begin to have conversations with different stakeholders, such as city agencies, the village president's office, and you start having, and then the community members are actually having those conversations with those different city agencies. So that's the part that I think is really beautiful about the process. So yeah, so then once you actually have those proposals, then you start having the conversations. Well, what are the projects that are going to be on the actual ballot? You have these matrices where people are doing like a count. Okay, what are the needs? How impactful can this be to the community area? is this equitable? Are we reaching to the people that are being marginalized in our community? Then you start asking those heavier questions within your subcommittee team. And then you make that decision of like, okay, well, we're going to decide on this project and this project. And then you ultimately decide, okay, we're going to have 5 projects on the ballot. We're going to have 10 projects on the ballot. But once the vote happens, they decide one is the vote, who gets to vote. In Chicago, you have to be 14 years or older to vote, and you don't have to be a citizen. As long as you live in the ward where the PV process is happening, and as long as you're an active member of the ward. So now after that, then it becomes implementation process. Well, now that we voted on this project, we have to make sure that it will get implemented. So that those same subcommittee members are then following through on that project.
This is my copy of our village budget. It is 350, 60 something pages. It technically is legally, it's available. It's a link on our website on the Village of Oak Park, but it's a giant PDF. And also it is organized in a way that makes it very, very difficult for anybody who is not in that practice to really find, follow, understand. And so this is something that I and many other people have talked about for a long time. I had the opportunity to be connected to Alicia Chastain and Derek Eater, and through talking and collaborating and learning about each other, they made an incredible tool that is going to help not just Oak Park. I think this is something that we will be able to expand, and lots of different municipalities will be able to look at this. And so without any further ado, please keep the questions coming in the chat. That's great, and thank you. And I would like to introduce Derek Eater and Alicia Chastain and the tool.
This is a tool, Budget Oak Park. You can go to it, budgetoakpark.com. This is a tool that Alicia and I worked on over the last couple months. And so we have here the village budget. We have the 2021 budget highlighted here. This chart at the top shows you how that's changed over time, going all the way back to 2013. You can click on the chart and change the year and see, okay, what was it like in 2017? What did we spend that money on? If you really care about comparing numbers over time, then adjusting for inflation is a thing that comes up. And so we have this little tool at the top where you can have it calculate the numbers adjusted for inflation, so you can compare actual percentage changes that isn't just counting for like the value of the dollar changing. So you can see here, I've got 2017 selected. Below, every time you click on a year, it'll show you how the budget was organized. The way that Oak Park's budget, which is also the case with a lot of other budgets, it's organized by funds, which are these ways of collecting revenue, and then different items in the budget slot under those different funds. So you can see here the general fund, even if you click on multiple different years, that's the one that most of the money goes to, but you can also see there's things like the water fund, and in this case, the Madison Street TIF fund and all the other things like that. You can actually click on one of these and open it up and see here's how the general fund has changed over time. Alicia did an awesome job of pulling all the descriptions for each of these, so you can kind of understand what is the general fund. And then what's really neat about it is you can dive into each individual fund and see, okay, here's the stuff inside the general fund. And so you can see in 2019, this is what we spent on police, and then on fire, finance, and then some of these are broken up into multiple different categories, and you can actually keep drilling down. So if you wanted to see the police budget and then even go down a third level and see here's what they spend on salaries, here's what they spend on pensions, overtime, and lots of other things like that. So it's really gives you a hands-on way to dive into the budget.
I think one of the things that I wanted to call out was that this is all the data directly from the budget. We didn't really do anything to categorize the data. We did eliminate some places where there were duplications of things.
This tool really is the beginning. It's the first step into figuring out what our questions really are. What makes me most excited is the accessibility and the model that we could possibly be looking at doing something like this for all of our taxing bodies, making this type of information more available and understandable, so accessible in all of the ways, is going to help the entire village, but also is going to go a long way to inform the folks that are willing to come into this participatory process. And I love that this is an example of opening our imagination. It is super, super hard to look beyond what we are used to, what we've come to expect in how things happen, and having a glimpse into how it could be will, I think, take us a long way down that road.
And it's also, the code for this is open source, which means that it's free for anybody else to reuse.
And this tool, I believe, is a really big step in helping us get to that. Thank you, everybody that joined us today, and for agreeing to let us record this, and for participating, and for putting your comments. And this has actually been really fun, really productive, a very fast turnaround, and a great example of how our local government, with participatory leadership and community, can make really amazing things happen. Look at what we just did in 1 hour. Please get involved with our campaign if you can sign up with your email address, because elections are stress tests. They tell us where we are, but the work will continue every single day after April 6th. So we want everybody to get involved and stay involved. So please join us.